If there are any young bloods out there, I'll marry you for your last name.
Hi, I'm Lila,
And I'm Chansey.
and this is For Criming Out Loud.
Hey everybody. Glad you could join us again this week. It's a good week. It's fall officially now. It's cold outside. Therefore, I feel like it can officially be fall. So that's fun.
Well, for me, it officially feels like winter because it snowed and it stayed. So
that really is not how
we
fall's supposed
skipped
to work.
fall.
We went right
it was
into
75 last week, and it is now snow outside. So
we're having
that's a
some
bummer.
weird weather patterns going on. Crazy. But yeah, it's so cold. I haven't had to wear like sweaters or anything. And now I get to, and it's very exciting. So, yahoo!
That is the
Speaking of
best.
cold, oh shoot. Speaking of cold weather, for our little like fun corner or whatever we're calling it, it's
Fun
like a
corner?
lighter store fun corner, like we're 2-year-olds.
Okay, we'll roll with it, I guess.
That needs a new name. Don't anybody call it that, please. I apparently have a thing for weird animal stories because I'm going to tell another weird animal story like I did with Wally Gator. Wally Gator, I still don't have any updates on him, by the way. I don't think he was found. So that's sad.
Poor Wally.
I know, poor Wally. He gets to be a real gator, though. I'm excited for him. Gets to live and eat things in the swamps.
Yeah, you think so? Because it's like releasing a house dog out into the wild and thinking they're gonna turn into
like,
a wolf.
They're gonna just join a wolf pack somewhere.
I don't have that much hope
They're
for poor
gonna
Wally.
get eaten.
I don't think he would know what to do. That is a really sad thing, though.
Rest in peace, Wally.
Rest in peace, rip.
Rip. So today my story is about a beluga whale named, and don't judge me for my pronunciation, this is a made-up name between two Russian words, so this is just my version of that. Vladimir.
Oh.
Yep. It's a mix between the word whale, which is fall, Hval, or something like that, and Vladimir for Vladimir Putin. So don't judge him too harshly on his name.
Vladimir Putin got a whale named after him.
Well, this whale was believed to have been part of a Russian spy program.
What?
So, yeah, apparently that's a thing. Like, I was reading through this article, and apparently they use dolphins and whales and stuff to, like, defend, like bases and things that are in the oceans.
Excuse me? Like,
yeah,
they sick
and the
them?
U.S.
Like,
has
sick them,
yeah,
and it like
they
takes
have
down a
packs
ship.
they're not called packs of dolphins. I don't know what the flocks of dolphins.
I don't think so.
Schools of dolphins. I don't think that's right.
Maybe that sounds better.
Families. I bet they're families. Anyways, they've got dolphins that, like, I don't know what they do exactly. I don't know if they like warn them that there's people coming or whatever, but it's weird.
They're called a pod. Like
pod,
a whale.
That's it.
Pods of dolphins.
I knew that. Everybody listening to that was just like, it's a pod! It's a pod! And I was like, it's not coming.
It's not happening.
It's a school, a flock.
I had to Google
dolphins.
It didn't come to me either.
Yeah, no. I've definitely heard that, but it just didn't come to my mind. Anyways, so Vladimir, he's just like a friendly, he's part of like a group called Marine Time, and they like have like him as like a rehab whale, but he like goes up and down the coast and they just like track him to make sure he's okay because he's not part of a pod. I don't know if they're called that with whales, but he's not part of a pod of beluga whales. So they just keep track of him. And he's really friendly with people. He's done things like he returned a GoPro camera to a kayaker who dropped it.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Friendly whale.
He plays fetch. He's done that before. And he
Interesting.
like plays with underwater drones. You know, they have those like cameras and stuff that go on.
Uh-huh.
He like plays around with those. He's actually really cute.
That's
Cute
crazy.
little beluga whale. But anyways, there have been like two different groups. There's a group called One Whale, and there's a group called Marine Time, and they've been fighting about what to do with Vladimir because they want to. One of the groups wants to reintroduce him to like an actual pod of beluga whales, and like get him going and release him into the wild, and the other one didn't want to. And anyways, he was spotted in Sweden, and then a few
Oh.
days later, he was found sadly unalive in Norway.
No.
So Vladimir was killed, and that's really sad because he was a really cute beluga whale. But they
Why do
think he
all of
may
your
have been
stories end in
murdered.
the animals dying?
I don't know, but I just thought this was a sad, cute
That's
story.
not where I wanted that to go.
But Vladimir, they think he was murdered. They think because of some of the damage to his body, they think he was
Who would
killed.
do that? Why?
I know. People are the worst. The worst. Anyways, so they're doing I think they call it a necropsy for animals. It's not an autopsy. I think it's something different. But they're doing one of those to try and figure out what happened to him because they think he may have there's lots of, theories going around on the social medias, but they think he may have like been killed for his spy work or something.
But
I don't
what
think
good
that's
does
what
that
happened,
do?
but I just feel
That
like
doesn't make
some
any
fishermen were
sense.
probably out there and they
Like
were just
blubber.
jerks.
I don't
Just
know. Do
real
people still do
jerks.
that? Do people still kill
I'm
whales?
sure they
Pretty
do.
sure they do.
I'm sure they do.
I've seen documentaries
Yeah.
about whale
Yeah, I'm
killers.
positive that they do.
Well, I guess both your and my story involve murder today then, as per usual. Except you were supposed to come up with a happy topic, which did not happen, so we
Okay,
get two bummers today.
beluga whales and dolphins working for governments is pretty happy.
Okay,
I
that's
don't
true.
know.
Focus on that, I guess. So, my story today though is going to keep the Halloween theme. It's going to keep the spooky
Woohoo!
vibe going from last week. And we're going to talk about a double homicide that happened on Halloween night in 2004. So,
2004.
yep.
Okay.
And this happened in Napa, California. So,
Wow. Napa, California. It's wine country.
yeah,
Sorry.
it's the land of the wine. Is it known for anything else? I don't even know. I just know about the wine.
That's all I know about.
Napa.
It's just
Okay.
wine. Napa Valley.
So this case is kind of crazy because the police would have a really hard time solving it, but they went really hard. So this case would take almost a year to solve. The police interviewed and investigated over like 1,300 suspects.
In a
And
year,
took,
wow.
yeah, over a year. And took like over 200 different people's DNA samples to try and match.
Dang.
So it was a pretty intense investigation. It's a wild story. Here we go.
I'm ready for it.
So the scene of our crime is a house on Dorset Street. And it was where originally two roommates lived. There was Lauren Mienza, who was a volleyball coach at a local community college, and then there was Adrian Insagna, who was an engineer for the Napa Sanitation District. And they were both 26 years old, so they were both pretty young, and they lived in this house together on Dorset Street, and they were just two cute girls doing their thing. They like kind of wanted the quiet life, even though like they were still young and could have been out in the city. They like chose instead to live in a little house in a quiet neighborhood. They were the same age. They also had some of the same friends. One of which her name was Lily Prudhomme. And Lily was friends with both Lauren and Adrian, but was especially close with Adrian. And Lily said it was just really easy to be friends with Adrian. They worked together, they went to the gym together. They were just like those kind of friends. And so it came time for them to find a third roommate. And they thought maybe Lily would be a good match, but she actually had a boyfriend that she was pretty serious with. And so they kind of went looking for a third roommate. They found Leslie Mazzara, who became their third roommate. And Leslie, she was a Southern beauty queen. She'd grown up wanting to be a mother, a nurse, a teacher, and Miss America. So this girl was a
She
go-getter.
had dreams, man.
She wanted it all. And so she had moved to Napa because she had broke up with her boyfriend and I guess had needed some space. And so she had like moved across the country basically and had gotten a job as a greeter for a winery because, Napa and the wine.
It's Napa.
So there you go.
There you have
Um,
it.
so you have these three roommates. It's Halloween night of 2004, and they're handing out candy, and they're pretty responsible 26-year-olds, and they all go to bed by like 11. And Leslie and Adrian's bedrooms were upstairs. Lauren's bedroom was in the basement. And it's about 1 a.m. when Lauren is woken up by a loud noise/noises coming from upstairs. And she said later that she remembers just waking up. She wasn't exactly sure why. She didn't really realize it was the noises that woke her up until she was awake. And then she just felt like something was really off. And she was right to feel that way because the next thing she hears is a scream and
Shoot, man.
footsteps. So she gets out of bed and she stands outside of her bedroom to investigate, and she hears somebody running down the stairs.
No.
And she follows her gut and she decides to go up and out the back door, and she's terrified that whoever is coming is going to follow her. But she instead hears them go out a window on their main level. Lauren never saw who it was, but after she hears them leave, she goes back inside and upstairs to investigate what happened. So Lauren goes upstairs and she finds that Adrian and Leslie are both in Adrian's bedroom and they're bleeding from multiple stab wounds.
Oh my gosh.
When Lauren arrives, Adrian is still alive, but just barely. And so Lauren obviously goes and calls 911, and by the time the police arrive, both Adrian and Leslie are dead.
Dang.
So once both of them are pronounced dead, it's kind of sad because Adrian's mom, Arlene, she's notified. She's living in Australia at the time, so she's
Oh
not
gosh.
anywhere close.
Yeah.
And Leslie's mother is also contacted, and her name is Kathy. And both of these women are kind of where the investigations start. They get asked whether there is anybody that would want to harm their daughters. And they both say no. I have no clue who could have done that. And they were so young and like really didn't have any enemies that they knew of. Along with that, close family and friends were asked if there was anybody that would have wanted to hurt either of them. And once they started to kind of piece together who these two girls were, the police decided to focus on Leslie because Leslie had had a long history of dating. And she had dated a lot of men in the area since moving there and had been really social. And so they figured it was maybe a boyfriend. So basically, since they assumed that Leslie was most likely the intended victim, they thought that Adrian like would have come to her aid upon like hearing commotion. Which also like is interesting because I swear that in all of the sources I found, they were in Adrian's bedroom, which seems like it should have been opposite to the police. You'd think that if it's Adrian's bedroom where the crime took place, Adrian was the intended target. But the police didn't think that. They thought it was Leslie and that Adrian had just gotten in the way. They had only two other things to go off of from the crime scene, and it wasn't much. They had a little bit of blood on the blinds of the window that the intruder had entered and exited through. And they had found a cigarette butt that was like right outside of the house. And none of the girls smoked. So they had to assume that maybe it was him. Maybe he smoked a cigarette and then went and did the deed. So,
Like he was watching the house or whatever,
yeah,
standing out there.
exactly.
You said this is 2004, right? So like
Yes.
DNA is a thing potentially
Yes. Yes.
that they
They
can
could
get.
they could DNA match to the blood. So,
Okay, cool.
the only other important thing to know here was that this cigarette was a Camel Turkish Gold brand, which was apparently new and very uncommon in 2004. So it was
Okay.
actually like a better piece of evidence than you might think because there wasn't a ton of people smoking that brand, I guess. So, um, they would later find, months later, that the DNA in the cigarette did match, confirming their theory that it did belong to the killer.
Okay, cool. That was smart of them. I wouldn't
So,
have thought to do that because I'm not an
no,
investigator.
no, they did some good
I would have
investigative
just
work here.
assumed.
It was good. So, like I said, they started the investigation by looking at Leslie's ex boyfriends and people that she had dated. So, the first person that came to people's mind was Brian West, who was one of her college boyfriends. And friends of Leslie said that he had bought her a car after like only a few months of dating her. And they thought it was a little fishy. They were like, it's really intense to buy somebody a car after like knowing them for a few months. I don't know. And then
Yeah,
they also
definitely.
said, yeah, they also said that after they broke up, he built like a website dedicated to Leslie. And it was like also a little strange. Like
No,
he
that's straight up
basically just
insane.
like idolized her. Like,
She
yeah.
started like a fan club for her.
Yeah, basically started a Leslie fan club after they broke up and had nothing bad to say about her. Like he was just like, she is the bestest ever.
It's like those people that start social media accounts for celebrities that just like they just post like paparazzi pictures of them and talk about how much they love them and how
Yeah, and it's
wonderful they
super
are.
weird.
It's
Yeah,
creepy.
it's really strange. So, yeah. So it was a little like that. And so the police were like, yeah, that seems like a good place to start. He seems a little off. Um, but after interviewing him, and I would assume he gave DNA because it didn't give any reason, but they dropped him as a suspect very
Like
soon.
pretty fast.
So he either had a solid alibi, and I couldn't find that anywhere, or he was not a DNA match, but they ruled him out completely. Was not him. So
All right.
I guess he
Not Brian
just was
West.
going to continue to idolize Leslie. Next, they investigated
It's not
William
great.
Lee Youngblood Jr.
The young blood is in quotations, right?
No, no, like
Oh,
literally,
really?
that is his name. William
I thought it
Lee
was like
Youngblood Jr. It's a freaking mouthful.
William Lee Youngblood Jr.
Yeah.
That's quite
Yep.
the last name. I want that
Youngblood.
last name. If there are any Youngbloods out there, I'll marry you for your last name.
Hit me up.
Chancey Youngblood. It has like a ring to it, don't you
Yeah.
think?
Sounds like a Dracula. It's like
Yeah,
it
it's like a
should be a
vampire
family of
name.
vampires. Yeah.
But if you read
So,
that in a book about vampires, you'd be like, that's a little too on the nose. That was dumb.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Anyways, sorry.
Psych. They're all werewolves. Sorry.
There you go. Plot twist.
Okay. So he, William Lee Youngblood Jr., was a lawyer that Leslie had been living with shortly before moving. From what I gather, this is the guy she moved away from.
So she broke
Um,
up with him and then moved across the
and
country.
moved. Yeah, because he lives in South Carolina. So, her friends had heard Leslie say that if it weren't for William's father, who made her feel extremely uncomfortable, she would have married
Ugh.
him. So
Ugh.
there wasn't like any problems in their relationship. It was more just like, your father is real creepy. I cannot do this
He's
anymore.
he's a
Goodbye.
predator. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
It must have
And
been really
so,
bad for you to be like, I'm not gonna be with you because your dad is a psycho.
yeah, I was like literally having flashbacks to Susan Powell when I was reading that. I was like, get
Yeah,
out. That was a good choice.
seriously.
But the only details that I could find in any articles just said that William's father, who is William Lee Youngblood Sr., would call to talk to Leslie like all the time, not to his son, but would call like to talk to Leslie, like to the point that they would like stopped answering the phone because he was like just too much. I'm sure there was other things. I'm sure it was more than just phone calls, but yeah,
This girl has
that's.
like stalkers upon stalkers, man. That is
I
not
mean,
normal.
she is like a beauty queen, so I'm sure she
I
has
mean, I get that,
legions of
but
men following her around. But
legions.
legions.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they look into William Lee and Youngblood Jr. and Senior once they hear that Mr. Senior was really creepy. And they actually go all the way to South Carolina to go investigate them. So like they are
Wow.
doing their police work.
They're
And
doing the thing.
they especially were interested in Mr. Senior because he had called her twice on the night of Halloween, which was
Oh.
like, sir, that's interesting. So they go out to South Carolina, like I said. They question him, they question Mr. Jr., and they both are like, we didn't do it. And they both agree to take a DNA sample, to give a DNA sample. And neither was a match. It wasn't them. It wasn't either of them.
I
Neither of
mean,
them was involved.
I feel like I saw that coming because they live in South Carolina.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it was a little bit of a stretch, but also
it was a
really
long
weird that he
shot.
called 2 times. That's
Super
weird.
creepy.
So the police continue to go through more people they know. They're running into just a bunch of dead ends. And so instead, they started to look into Adrian's life.
Food for
And they're
thought.
like,
They should have
okay,
started there.
maybe, maybe we have it wrong. Who in Adrian's life could have done this? So the only person of suspicion that they could find was her on and off again boyfriend, Christian Lee. And Adrian, apparently the issue was that Adrian was ready for commitment and Christian wasn't. And so they kept like getting together and then being like, no, we're not doing this, whatever. Friends at work said that Adrian was like pretty distraught pretty frequently over Christian. And they saw like some bad sides of Christian. They didn't give details as to what that was. That was just what the friend said. There was a bad side to Christian. And so the police, doing their due diligence, they show up at Christian's house. They must have had a warrant because they take some of his clothes, they take the sheets off his bed, they take a DNA sample, and they find a knife in his room that they take. And then they take him too down to the station to be questioned.
They're just gonna take everything.
They take basically his whole bedroom. They're like, let's go. We feel good about you.
This is
You're the
ours
guy.
now.
And sadly, this lead burned out as well. He was not a match. It was not Christian.
My gosh, who
Weird that he
was
has a knife
it?
hanging out in his room, though.
It's super
Just gonna
weird.
put that out there. I don't know why you have a knife just
Do a
chilling in your
lot of
bedroom.
people have knives just like in their room? Was it
I mean,
like
I
a
guess if
pocket
it's
knife
like a
or was it like
pocket
a straight up
knife,
knife?
I couldn't find details. It just said the knife out of his room. I was like, is this a kitchen
Because
knife?
if it's a
Like a butcher
yeah,
knife? I don't know.
if it's like a pocket knife, okay, I can
Yeah.
see that. If it's a kitchen knife, I have no idea
I
why
have
that's
no
there.
clue what you're doing. So at this point, it's been months and months, and the double homicide is beginning to feel a little breezy, a little cold. They don't really know where they're gonna go with this, and it's looking like it might never be solved. And so, um, it's around this point where there's not really much happening in the investigation that Leslie and Adrian's friend Lily, if you remember her from the beginning, the almost roommate,
Uh-huh.
um, spurred on, she said, by the thought that, tomorrow is never a guarantee. She finally decides to marry that boyfriend of hers. They've been dating for 8 years. His name is Eric Koppel. And Lily recalled that Eric and her were actually like supposed to be married the day after the murders happened. So like they were supposed to be married on November 1st in Hawaii. And what's really sad is that Adrian at the very least would have been there. and may
Oh,
have never been killed. So
that's
she
horrible.
says that it haunts her still that she didn't have their wedding that day because because
Because if
Adrian would
she
have
had, she could have saved your
possibly
friend's
been
life.
out of the way of harm, possibly. Lily actually invited Adrian's mom to the wedding, I think kind of to honor Adrian. Um and they both said that it was really hard because while it was like nice to have, as close as you could get to Adrian there, she wasn't there and it was kind of a reminder that she was no longer with them.
Yeah.
So the investigation continues until the next summer. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, they end up interviewing like 1,300 different people and taking over 200 DNA samples to try and locate the killer. And they
Insane.
decided once those all ran out, they were out of ideas, their last ditch effort was to release information to the public. And so they release the information that they have, which is literally, do you know anybody that knew these girls or live in this area and that would have or does smoke the type of cigarettes they had? The
The
camel,
camel Turkish gold.
yep, camel Turkish gold cigarettes. And they were hoping it might just stir somebody's memory up and be like, this is a suspect. And they were right, but not in the way they expected, because it actually set a fire under the killer himself. Killer
Oh.
himself freaked out and was like, "They're on to me. I have I have got to go." And so this killer actually ends up writing suicide notes to his family, and his family are like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on there. How about you just go turn yourself into the police?" And so he does. And this person was closer than anybody would have ever realized. He was right there the whole time. The person that killed them was Eric Koppel, the new husband of
Lily's
Lily.
husband?
Yep.
Why?
Eric had become resentful of Adrian's relationship with Lily. And it just so happened that on Halloween night, Eric had gotten really super drunk and angry. And Lily had refused to spend the night with him in their apartment. So he was even more angry because it should have been their like wedding night basically, and he wasn't even allowed to be with Lily. And according to Eric, he remembers grabbing a knife and leaving the house, and then after that, he doesn't remember anything.
I feel like that's in a quotations. He doesn't remember anything. He doesn't remember anything.
That's his claim. He doesn't remember
Quotations.
anything, but he knows he grabbed a knife and left their apartment.
My butt, he doesn't remember anything.
So, yeah, he murdered these two girls literally out of jealousy, out of a jealous rage, over no reason. Nothing.
So he went to kill Adrian, and then it was
Yes.
like the police thought.
Lily, not Lily.
Other than that,
Leslie
Leslie
came
went
in.
into the room. She got in the way,
Yep.
basically.
And he killed her too.
What a senseless murder. Like, there's not even a real motive there. That's just a drunk guy being dumb.
Stupid, being angry and drunk.
Yeah. No
Yep.
wonder his fiance or whatever didn't want to spend the night with him.
Seriously.
He might have killed her. Oh my gosh.
What is truly wild though is that so Eric, he ends up striking a plea deal and pleads guilty to both accounts of first-degree murder, and he's given life in prison without the possibility of parole. And then since he struck a plea deal and pled guilty, he dodged the death penalty, which was on the table.
I thought he was going to commit suicide.
I know. I was like,
It's
I thought you
weird.
wanted out anyway. Whatever.
Whatever.
At his hearing, Lily actually spoke on his behalf and said something that came as a shock to everybody. On the stand in the courtroom, she told everybody that she still loved him and that no matter what he did, that would never change.
He just murdered one of your close friends.
And you like married him and then you slept beside him for like a whole year after that.
Year. And now you're saying it doesn't matter that he murdered two people.
Yeah, basically she was like, I still love you, man. I don't understand what you did, but I
Forever and
love you.
always. I bet they're divorced.
Disgusting. I hope so. Anyway, so that was kind of crazy and also like shocking to Adrian's mom, who was, there for this. And she
Yeah,
was like upset, obviously, because she was like, "You
I would
invited me
be
to your guys' wedding, and then now you're claiming him over my
ready
daughter
to
who was
fight.
senselessly murdered." So, this begged a question for a lot of people. Did Lily know about the murders?
I feel
Because it
like she
seemed
had to have
really
known about
weird.
it.
And from what I found, like she was never investigated. They like if that was a question that police had, they never looked into it because she actually went and did like a ton of interviews on like different news places and a bunch of other things.
You
And
know,
like she convinced everybody. I mean, nobody had any red flags. But yeah, she was never investigated for like aiding or like hiding the crime either.
I feel like that makes you an accessory
I
after the
know.
fact if you know about it.
You'd
That's
have to believe
ridiculous.
like that's where he lived. He would have had blood all over him.
Like he would have come back to the apartment that he wasn't supposed to be at.
Yeah. Also, this man, Eric Koppel, go look on social media if you haven't because he looks like a pedophile. Sorry, I'm just being honest. I'm gonna send you a
I feel like you
picture.
can't say things like that.
I'm sorry,
I
but
mean,
once
he's
you
a
see the
murderer, so
picture,
he lost rights to
yeah,
being.
he did. He's a terrible person. So,
Let
but
me look him up because
he
I want
looks
to see his
evil.
face.
Oh, I was gonna send you a picture.
Oh, okay. Do that because I'm not going to be able to figure out how to spell his last name.
It's on its way.
I heard the whoo. I feel like that was a pretty good sound effect I just made.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
I told you.
His eyes are so intense.
Yeah, he looks like somebody that would murder you in the night for no reason.
But he's
That's who he
also
looks
wearing
like.
glasses.
He's wearing glasses and he has
I
this
feel
like
like that's
really
contradicting. Weird
he,
blonde goatee thing.
yeah, I don't know. He just looks like he looks a little off. And actually like he said in like I mean, they all say this, but like he said in like court interviews basically that he like felt like there was something wrong with him and like there was this dark side and that he felt awful for what he had done. But also he was a ruined man and I was like I freaking don't care. You just murdered two people for literally no reason.
Well, yeah,
So,
you murdered one of them for a dumb reason and the other one literally for no reason. So, I don't think you deserve anybody's empathy, my dude.
yeah, and the other thing to me was also like I feel like it was a little premeditated because he stopped outside of their house and had a smoke, which seems like he was trying to
Yeah.
get the balls to do what he wanted to do. It's not
Yeah,
like
he
he
was
like
like
just
thinking
like in a
about it.
blind rage just busted into their house. He like took a second, was like, I'm gonna get the gumption to do this. Take a smoke,
Yeah,
take the edge
which makes
off.
sense because he pled for first degree, not second degree. If it had been a
Yeah.
crime of passion that hadn't been premeditated at all, they couldn't have
Then
done first degree on that.
exactly. So it was
So
100% premeditated and very spur of the
I
moment.
just whatever. Just one
So
night, he gets drunk and he decides the only solution to the feeling that I'm having is murder of two
yeah,
innocent people that I don't
apparently.
even know that well. Let's do it.
Yeah.
What a
Well, and it's
psycho.
like it's sad too because he also worked with Lily and Adrian. So they were all like coworkers together.
Okay.
And yeah, and so that was like rough for everybody that worked there. It was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a blow.
So,
I just can't get over
but
like I'm convinced Lily knew the whole time. That's my personal belief.
I feel like she did. I feel like how would you not know? But also, I mean, I don't know. If he went and got rid of I mean, she wasn't in the apartment that night is what it sounds like. Sounds like she refused to
Okay.
sleep in the apartment, so she might have left and he could have come back and thrown his clothes away and then moved on with his
I
life.
mean it's possible,
It's
but
possible.
I just feel like you don't on the stand in a split second decision like decide, you know what, I'm okay with this. I'm gonna love him no matter what. I feel like that's something that you like
It's terrible.
predetermined, something you like had to
Come
think
to
about.
grips with.
Yeah, like over time. But
Yeah, no,
what
I'm
do I know?
sorry.
I've never
I
had to say
I
that.
If my husband murdered somebody, I nope, sorry, I'm not covering it up for him.
Well, this is my personal belief. If somebody you love murders somebody, you don't know that person. They lied
No.
about who they are.
No.
Because
Yeah,
people that are
exactly.
good people, they don't do that. So you can't just be like, oh yeah, I love them. No, you
No, you
don't.
don't.
You loved
Not
a
anymore.
version of them that doesn't exist. Because murderers are not people that are good people. Normal people don't do that.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. So,
anyways,
there you go. That's the story of the Napa Halloween murders and the really sad story of two girls that like had a really bright future. I mean, like Leslie, she was gonna be a nurse and a mom, and she was gonna be
and a
Miss
teacher
America.
and
She
Miss
was
America.
getting it,
She was going
and
places.
and Adrienne was like super smart. She was an engineer. She had her life put
That is
together,
so smart.
and so
So
yeah, really
sad.
sad. There was actually like a scholarship started like under the name of Adrienne, and so that's kind of
Oh,
cool
cool. I like that.
because yeah, she went and got her education, whatever, and so yeah, it was like one good
I
thing that
like
happened.
to hear that there's
But
something good that comes from
these terrible things.
something terrible.
So
Yeah.
yep, there you have it. There's your
It was
story
wild.
for the week. So your tip of the week is don't love a murderer. Don't stand by him. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Not worth it.
Don't go in public and then tell a bunch of people I love this man who murdered two girls. It's
It's
backfire.
not your best choice.
Stay frosty.
See you next week.